Hey crew, as you know, last week Kyle flew out and we took 6 days and did a bunch of walks on the Olympic Peninsula. We started out actually just driving from Pendleton. He flew into Pasco and we had to stop at Stonehenge because it's on the way. We were following walks in the Walks in the Northwest book, so this is, as you know, more walks from that. This walk was the first one we did on the first day, and it's in the Columbia Gorge. It's number 30 in the book. We got out of the van and we started walking and we found that we were lost. And then we went and found the trailhead. It was at the back of the campground there. Now we're really at the trailhead. Oh, I've got actually a discovery pass, so I don't think we have to pay the day use fee. So it was a nice little walk. We walked, I don't know how far, it was like 2 or 3 miles, not much. And part of it was on the wrong path. And we just kind of walked up this trail until the point where we kind of got a taste for it. I think the walk was only supposed to be a couple miles. And, you know, everything changes in the 25 years since the book was published. So we don't worry too much about doing them perfectly, as I've said before. Oh, wow. So we stopped in this little stand that was burned out and then headed back to the car. We then headed to Oxbow Park, which is right outside Troutdale. Had a nice walk there, and once again we had trouble finding the trail. We probably walked like 3 times what the actual distance of the trail was supposed to be, but it was a really pleasant walk along the Sandy River, and obviously that's number 31 in the Walks in the Northwest book. These were the last 2 in the gorge that I hadn't gotten to yet. It was nice, you know, it's a little taste of the rainforest, but as you'll see, as we moved up to the peninsula itself, this was kind of nothing compared to that. But it still was beautiful. So then we headed up, we actually took I-5 up to Kelso Longview and then cut across back into Oregon, out to Astoria, crossed the bridge and went up to Cape Disappointment, where we spent the night. But we had time for one last walk before we went to bed, and that was to this lighthouse. And I think this ended up being like the longest walk we did on the day. And it was pretty, but I didn't take a lot of pictures of it. There's an old bunker and some defensive structures out here from World War II. You can see this is the bunker. These are some of the facilities at the lighthouse, which were really beautiful. And the lighthouse was picturesque, as lighthouses are wont to be. The next morning we woke up and we headed out to Ledbetter Point, which I'm kind of flying over here. My fly-through, I messed it up, but we were not going to worry about that. So this is number 13 on the Walks in the Northwest, and the first one that I consider on the Olympic Peninsula. It was a beautiful walk along the inland waterway, and then we cut through the dense underbrush on a trail out to the beach. This is pretty. And once we got on the beach, you can see the wind was really whipping, and there were these plovers out there that were just beautiful. It's fun watching them, but we didn't spend too much time. And on the trail on the way back, there was a lot of water, and I was wearing tennis shoes. I'm used to getting wet, but Kyle had waterproof shoes, so he was trying to avoid letting the water over the top of his waterproof shoes, and that led to some real entertaining activities here.
Almost there, Dan.
I'm taking video of you. I want to get video of the fall. Actually, can you just get over to this pile of wood right in front of you there?
Yeah, I was thinking about just jumping.
Yeah,
It's kind of a long jump. But
it is kind of a long jump.
anyways, if this works.
So you're there. I think you can work your way through this
Yeah.
over. It's just a little dicey.
Like, what do they call that? Parkour.
Yes, parkour. I actually watch a bunch of parkour videos.
Do you?
I find them
They're fascinating.
incredibly fascinating. Yeah.
Hey, try land.
All right. A short bit of dry land, and then you get a little bit more here to get through. I don't know. Taking your shoes off might be easier. In the end, the outcome was never in doubt.
There's some raunchy water.
Yeah. 6 miles all told, and maybe a little less than that. And it's funny because the hikes got longer the further we went on the trip. And I think we kind of did that to ourselves. So we left Ledbetter and we headed up north. We were going to the South Fork Hoe for the night. We had to stop in Raymond to make a few calls, and we stopped at Ruby Beach just for a quick look around. And there were surprisingly a lot of tourists there. I didn't expect that, but there were a lot of people. The parking lot was full. It was pretty nonetheless. But it was great going out to the South Fork Hoe because we were the only ones camped at the campground there that night. We went for a little hike on the road that evening before we went to bed. This is our campsite. And then the next morning, drove 3 miles up the road to the trailhead and did what ended up being about an 8-mile hike in and out. And it was just really beautiful. And as I said, there was no one else around at all. It was drizzling when we started out, not surprisingly, in the rainforest, but we had patches of sun, as you'll see from this footage. You know, it was just a fun hike. It was beautiful, and I gotta say, I miss the smell of the western side of Washington and Oregon, the moisture and the slugs and the decomposing plant matter, and I don't know. It's just, it feels like home to me still, in spite of the fact I haven't lived there for, I don't know, 30 years, 25 years, something like that. And it's beautiful.
Look at that.
This is the route down, I guess.
Yeah, don't meet your demise.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea on a rocky, slippery surface here to keep filming while I climb down.
I'm enjoying your company right now.
It doesn't look as impressive from the bottom.
It never does.
When we finished up this walk, we went to the Hoh Rainforest Visitor Center, which was also packed with tourists. And a little anticlimactic. It was actually really beautiful there as well, but there were a lot of people there, and we walked most of the trails there, and then got in the car and headed out to the coast because the next walk on our list was Second Beach. But it turned out that the Indian tribes have closed their reservation to non-tribal members because of COVID, so we weren't able to actually go to Second Beach. And here you can see the hike would have been from the parking lot up in the top of this image down to the beach itself. It would have been nice, but instead we had to go back inland to Forks and then around up here to Ozette Lake, where we camped for the night. And we did another road walk that evening, and I was talking to some backpackers, and the backpackers told us that if we did this 9-mile loop, we could see some petroglyphs, rather than 6 mile in and out on one leg of the triangle here. And plus we got to walk along the beach. Oh wow, look at those nets. And the screw trap over there. It's fair to the right. 9.2. The next morning, we decided to go ahead and do that. I really enjoyed this walk as well. Okay. There was just a lot of variety in it, and we saw a lot of wildlife as well, as you'll see. Alright, it was mostly birds. We saw a deer as well, but it was pretty much birds and a deer. But it was fun. Or maybe not. The beach was also really beautiful. Actually, the trail was really well developed. As you could see, there was boardwalk or gravel, so it was super fast walking the trail. Checking out the tide pools was fun as well. The beach was probably took us half the walk. Half of our time was on the beach, so that 3 mile stretch along the beach took half of our time, roughly. Maybe not quite that, but more or less. And of course, driftwood is always really cool. Yeah, it is. And then in the last mile or half mile of the beach, we started seeing some eagles, which was really cool as well. And this was the point kind of at the very end of the beach walk, and we got out here and we were on it, and I'm looking around and taking video, and all of a sudden Kyle, because he's more observant than I am, noticed that on a rock just behind us there was an eagle sitting there.
Damn, bald eagle. Right there at that.
Yeah, so this guy was just hanging out.
Yeah, I heard that.
Looking for something good to eat, I assume. So yeah, we were back to the car before noon. I think it was like 11:30, and we headed to Hurricane Ridge from there. Drove by Lake Crescent. Yeah, we reserved a campsite in the National Park's campground. This isn't technically a walk, so this doesn't really count. And then went up and did a hike in the snow. Secret message in this picture. See if you can spot it. So it's kind of cool having done that loop on the coast and then coming inland and experiencing this. Looking at you looking tough. There's tough Kyle.
Like a camel.
That's right. That's right. Two hump camel. This is awesome.
That's pretty beautiful.
All right. We might have gone further down the trail, but honestly it was a little sketchy in certain spots. And we were getting close to evening, so we didn't want to get out there and lose our light. This was actually right out in our campsite. So the next morning we got up and headed to Dungeness Spit, which is a 5-mile hike out to a lighthouse along a beach that starts out in a little nature preserve. So you're in the forest initially for, I don't know, half a mile. And then it's like 4.5 miles of beach walking, and then you got to go back and do all that. So it was a 10-mile round trip hike. As I said, everything seemed to get just a little longer as we went along. I forgot to mention that yesterday we saw a couple bears on the road while we were driving, which I didn't get pictures of because I was driving. So we decided we needed something to top the bears today. We ended up having a pretty interesting wildlife viewing here. As you can see, these two fellows were having a nice conversation. I used the photos just because they're higher resolution than the video. And they're watching these guys, you knew something ominous was going to happen, didn't you? Just seemed a little scary. Oh, cue the Jaws music. We didn't want that food anyway, did we? Nope. We're just going to sit here and enjoy our beautiful day. Yeah, it was pretty cool. Seeing the golden come in and chase them off. And these two guys, I don't know why I didn't take any video of them. But like I said, the pictures are higher resolution anyway. So we're on our way back now. I didn't actually take video of the lighthouse either. There's a lighthouse out at the end, but I don't know. Lighthouses aren't that exciting to me unless you get a nice picture. So this was our morning hike. And then we headed down to Olympia, actually to Nisqually Delta, and we stopped and saw my old roommate, Lisa Scheibe, who you may or may not remember, who lives in Shelton now. And then went to the Nisqually Wildlife Refuge. And there's this great boardwalk, and I don't know if this was there when we lived there, but it's awesome. I got to do my video for Carew, and I forgot to take a video of us walking on the boardwalk. So, are you eating that now?
No, this is Reef Canary Grass.
Oh.
I was going to test you on it.
And we walked out on this boardwalk, and this, I don't know how far this trail is, if it's like 4 miles round trip or something like that. It's not too bad. But we got here in the evening, which was really nice because people were leaving. Actually, there were a lot of people there when we got there, but by the time we left, there were only a couple cars left in the parking lot. So is this a mile out here? Is that what it was? And then there are these guys.
You seem chubby. Got a lot of fat to live in this water. Roberts has a narwhal tusk.
Oh.
So cool. I really want to go see a narwhal. Maybe somehow get my butt up to the Arctic.
I didn't get pictures of the cowbirds that followed us out there. There were a couple of cowbirds that just kind of hung with us all the whole walk out. Local kayaker enjoying the nice, still, warm evening. I was feeling bad before that maybe I was driving him off by standing there taking video and pictures of him.
Oh, thank you. You're cute.
So we'd been hoping to go to Carbon Glacier the next day for that hike, which is in the book, but it turns out it was snowed in. So instead, we decided to just have a nice walk around Olympia. So after spending the night at Miller Sylvania State Park, we went to Tumwater Falls and parked the van there, walked around the Falls Park, and then walked all the way down Capitol Lake and back. It's kind of sad they don't allow swimming in the park anymore. That was really fun.
But they do it daily.
We found this train track. I don't know if you knew this was there on the east side of the brewery, and climbed down there and walked down that instead of along Capitol Boulevard until we got just before the bridge on our way downtown, which was kind of fun. It's a place I'd never been before. Obviously, these places will all be familiar to you. Down at Percival Landing and then back around the park. And it turns out there's a trail now that goes all the way from Capitol Lake around underneath the freeway and up through to Tumwater Falls Park, which was really nice. And then we just drove home over White Pass, so it ended up being a great trip. We had a good time. That's my story. I'm sticking to it.